Hey guys, welcome back to another Naruto CCG Deck Profile. Today I'm profiling a Hidden Mist deck. This is actually the second time that I'm going through this because I did this last week and it was so hot I actually felt myself trying to rush through it so that I could just get it over with. I thought I was actually getting heat stroke because I try not to have any AC or fans on to kind of ruin the audio experience. So round number 2, a week later, I'm profiling the same deck and I think I'll have some better takes. As always, I am using the Untap ban list along with some modifications for the Great Ninja Tournament's Discord server rogue list. So I will make note of any modifications that need to be made to adjust to each ban list, but I actually don't think there are any this time around. But I will still list out any of the rogue list cards that are on there just to for your information. As always, you can also find the full deck list down in the description below. You can upload it to Untap and modify the deck as you see fit, or just look at the cards and see what's going on, or print out a viewable list for it. Now, this is a net deck, which means that it's taken from some other list. I didn't really make this myself, but I did make some modifications to kind of give my own spin to it. But thankfully, there aren't really any combos that you have to be aware of out the gate. They're pretty self-explanatory, so we can just get right into it. First up with turn zeros, I run 3 Mist Anbu. It is a non-unique water ninja, and its effect is, during your mission phase, you can move 3 cards from your opponent's discard pile to their chakra area, put this ninja card into play from your hand. So in general, it's just a pretty solid turn 0 beat stick. You're probably not going to be able to get the effect off for at least a couple turns until the mid-game. It is non-unique though, so you can put as many of them into play as you want, which is very helpful for the kind of overall strategy this deck is going for. It is also a 3-0-0-0 turn 0 ninja, so it's pretty standard power. It's not too strong, but it's going to contend with most of the other decks. It does have Mist, which is important. We'll get to that later. And it does have the ninjutsu combat attribute. We are looking for weapon, but that's not exactly extremely important, so just a solid turn 0 ninja. Next, I run 3 Tracking Ninja. This is a turn 0 with 4-1 as its power when healthy, which is about as strong as you can get on turn 0. It also does have the ambush characteristic, which means you can deploy it from your chakra area, so it's very useful as hand costs for missions. Otherwise, it doesn't have an effect. The effect listed here is just listing the ambush characteristic. It does have name Haku, which is pretty important, and it does have the weapon combat attribute, which is also very important. So this is one of the best turn 0 ninjas you can get in terms of raw stats, and not having an effect is obviously a detriment, but it is still very, very good. And having 2 mental power and name Haku is also going to be important a little bit later. Next, I run 2 Haku Childhood. So if you're keeping count, we have 5 Hakus in the deck so far. Haku Childhood is very good, and its effect is valid. When this ninja is discarded due to the showdown, you can search for one Zabuza Momochi ninja card in your deck and put it in play. In that case, your opponent draws 2 cards. So the draw 2 for your opponent is pretty bad. As I always say, drawing is one of the most important aspects of any card game. So giving a draw to your opponent is obviously bad. But being able to search for a Zabuza in your deck and put it into play is extremely good. You can get a Zabuza out as early as turn 0 if you play your cards right. And being able to get the Zabuza down is very, very, very strong. Its second effect also gives every Haku in your hand growth. So a lot of times with the childhood cards, you'll run into the problem where if Haku Childhood's alive by like turn 3 and you don't really want it to be on the field anymore, you want a different Haku in your deck to come out, you don't really have the option to put it down until you kill your own ninja. But by giving them growth, you can growth over your own Haku, this one, to make sure that you can always have access to another Haku. Even if you just have Tracking Ninja, because it does have name Haku, you can even growth over it with that. Otherwise, the stats are 2-1 and 0-0, which aren't the best, but honestly, you're going to be trying to get this Haku to die in the showdown. So the stats are kind of the least important aspect. As I said, its name is Haku. It does have the weapon characteristic, which is kind of helpful, but probably not going to come up very much. And it does have the mist combat characteristic as well. So a thing about the Haku's effect is that it does need to be killed in the showdown specifically. If it's killed by a jutsu, if it's killed by a exchange of jutsu effect, or anything besides losing the showdown and taking damage from that, it does not work. So keep that in mind. You need this to die in the showdown. You can't get jutsued. Next, I run 2 Hotaru Katsuragi. It is the turn 0. It's the non-flashpoint version, the Tsuchigamo's secret version. She does not have Mist, which is unfortunate. She does not have the weapon characteristic or combat attribute. But she is just one of the best turn 0s you can get, because her effect is, when this ninja is put into play, flip a coin. If heads, draw 1 card. If tails, place 1 growth coin on this ninja. So unlike most flip effects, she gets a beneficial effect no matter which flip you get. Heads giving a card to your hand, which is obviously going to be very powerful. Tails giving a growth coin on her. Giving her growth also means that she can use this effect multiple times. One of the best ways to use her is if you get the draw effect on your first time putting her into play. You can then, if you draw another one, growth over your first one, allowing you to flip again since it's being put into play. It doesn't have to be deployed. Possibly getting you a growth coin off of that effect and getting the growth coin from the actual growth mechanic itself, giving you a 5-2 body on the field. So yeah, she's extremely good. I do only run 2 because she is not missed, which is unfortunate. Otherwise, I would run 3 of these. But just not fitting the overall theme and strategy of the deck means I'm just going to be running the 2 for 11 turn 0 ninjas after I get to this one. Lastly is Ranmaru. It is a mist ninja. Ambush as well. It's not uppercase, so it's kind of hard to see it. But obviously also usable for hand costs. His effect is, ninjas with a water symbol in this ninja's team cannot be affected by the effects of your opponent's ninjas with a printed entrance cost of 2 or less. So this does come up a little bit. I don't have any examples offhand because it's not extremely useful, but being a uniquely named Mist Ninja is something that's going to be very good for this deck. There are other options for another turn 0 ninja, but I just wanted to run this to have another body with a different name, because I do run a lot of similarly named ninjas. So yeah, 1 Ranmaru. It does have 0-2 and 0-0 when injured. So it's pretty good support in the early game if you deploy it on like turn 1. But otherwise, you don't really need more than 1, and you really don't even need the 1 if you want to minimize your turn 0s. On to turn 1s, I run 2 Karin, Sensing Weakness. This is a new addition to the deck that I haven't really tested very much, but I thought it might be kind of interesting with one of the jutsus and with the Haku childhood. So her effect is valid when any ninja in this ninja's team or the team opposing this ninja receives any damage, increase that damage by 1. So the obvious early strategy is to use Haku Childhood with Karin, lose the fight, Haku takes 2 damage instead of the 1, and you get to search out your Zabuza immediately. There is another jutsu that I'll be showing you later that deals 1 damage and is going to be boosted to 2 with this Karin. But otherwise, it's just to boost the damage and kind of set up your own damaging effects. I'm not completely sold on it. The other Karin, Absorption, is just so good that I'm not sure it's worth switching out for this for kind of a niche strategy. So just be aware that this is kind of in testing. But she does have 2 mental power. She does have Rogue Ninja, which is very important. And she does not have the weapon characteristic or Mist, unfortunately. But she's a turn 1 solid ninja, so I do run 2 of her or 2 of the absorptions. And last for turn 1s, I run 2 Kidomaru State 1s. Also not Mist, also not weapon, but he and some of the Karins are just so good that it's worth running them anyway. His effect is during your opponent's mission phase, you can discard 1 water card. In that case, your opponent selects one of their ninjas. That ninja cannot be sent out to battle during this turn. So being able to limit what teams your opponent can send out is extremely powerful, especially during their mission phase, so you can prevent somebody from swinging. Obviously, they get to organize afterwards, but if you do select a ninja in a team and they keep that ninja in that team, that means the entire team can't go out to battle just because one of the ninjas can't go out to battle. So it is very, very good. Unfortunately, it doesn't have ambush, but still very good. 2 support is very good for a turn 1, and the 1 combat, I guess, you can use. If they have a turn 5, you won't die. But really, it's just fodder here to be able to set up for Kidomaru State 2 later on. On to turn 2s, I run 2 Demon Brothers Gouzu. It's a Mist and Rogue Ninja. Kind of ironically, a lot of the Mist ninjas also have the Rogue Ninja characteristic. They don't lose the Mist when they go Rogue, I guess, which is, good for this deck, but it is just kind of interesting. It is a weapon ninja as well, so it can use some of the jutsus that we have later on the deck. And its effect is, when this ninja is put into play, you can search for the Demon Brothers Meizu in your deck, show it to your opponent, and place it in your hand. In that case, shuffle your deck. So it's just a very good way to tutor another card into your hand. Being able to search out that Meizu in your deck and bring it to your hand means that 1, you won't be drawing into it later and kind of wasting your draw, and 2, it'll be thinning out your deck. Essentially, this is a draw effect if the only card that you can draw is Meizu. But specifically in this Mist deck, where you are going to want to be flooding your field with Mist ninjas, you absolutely don't want to miss a drop, so guaranteeing that you have another Mist ninja to put into play next turn is very valuable. It is a 3-2 on turn 2, which is fine. It could be better, but it does give it the flexibility to be a head or support ninja either way. And like I said, with the weapon characteristic, it can be useful with some of the jutsus later. So I do run 2 of these. 3 is just too clunky, and you get the search anyway. Because the next turn 2 is Demon Brothers Meizu. Basically the same exact card. It still has Mist and Rogue Ninja. It still has weapon. The difference being in the combat stats. It has 3-2 and 0-1 instead of Gouzu's 3-2 and 1-0. And its effect is basically the opposite. When this ninja is put into play, you can search for the Demon Brothers Gouzu in your deck, show it to your opponent, and place it in your hand. In that case, shuffle your deck. So kind of exactly the same. It's even the same turn. It just searches out Gouzu. So they're both good for equally the same reason. If you get one, you get to search the other, and then even if the first one dies, by putting in the second one, you get to search for the first one again. And on to turn 3s. This is the main card of the deck. It is Utakata Snapwave. Mist and Rogue Ninja, so it has both of the good characteristics we're looking for. Not a weapon combat attribute, but that is absolutely fine. His effect is, when this ninja is put into play, you can move target ninja with an entrance cost less than X to its owner's hand. X equals the number of Mist ninjas you control. So right off the bat, you can probably see what the strategy is here. The more Mist ninjas you have on the field, the higher X is, which means when this is put into play, you get to move a ninja your opponent has to their hand of a higher value. If you're going first and you've played only Mist ninjas, you'll be able to move anything that they've deployed, which means that you will have wasted one of their deploys. And as games go from like 5 to 7 turns, maybe on average, you'll get to remove maybe 20% of their deploys for the whole game. So that's pretty good. So the entire point is basically to swarm your field with Mist ninjas so that when you put him down, you get to move somebody pretty good from the field. His stats are 4-3 and 0-2, which is pretty good, better than the turns 2s, but still not stellar. He's really in here for his main effect and how he synergizes with the next ninja. And for last of turn 3s, I run 2 Haku, Mirror Double. I had originally run a different Haku that protects against Jutsus, and I was very stupid for doing that. I was told I should run this one, and I did consider it beforehand, but I just kind of thought it would be better for Jutsus. But whoever told me that, you were absolutely right. It was very dumb not to run this one. This Haku is amazing. Its effect is, during the exchange of Jutsu, you can pay 2 water to place a copy of target ninja you control other than this ninja into your village. That copy has non-unique, and at the end of the turn, remove the copy from the game. So essentially useless for all but ninjas that have like EOJ or put in play effects, because it does not put a ninja into the team, so you don't get it for the showdown, and it can't use any jutsus. But the main draw of this is to use with Utakata. So you put down Utakata on turn 3, you move someone to their hand, you deploy Haku on turn 4, pay your 2 chakra, put a copy of Utakata into your village during the exchange of jutsu. The copy procs, and now that you have another Mist Ninja that the copy has the characteristic Mist as well, and the Haku having Mist after being deployed means that you'll be able to remove another ninja from their field and move it to their hand. And you can do this basically every single turn, pretty much without cost. 2 waters, nothing for this effect. So this is a very powerful combo, allowing you to thin their field incredibly fast, especially since you can do it even on their turn, so you can do it like twice a rotation, if you will. So Haku has Mist, it has Rogue Ninja, both the characteristics we're looking for. Unfortunately, does not have weapon like Tracking Ninja does, but that's fine because that's mostly just for jutsus. So I do just run 2 of these because this is a win more card with the Utakata, but you have plenty of chances to search this and get the effect off. Skipping turn 4, I go straight into turn 5 with 2 Zabuza Momochi, Demon of the Mist. His effect is valid, attacker or the EOJ. Well, the attacker's EOJ, I guess. You pay 0 chakra, and then when this ninja wins any victory during this turn, move one of your opponent's standby ninjas to the owner's hand. So incredibly detrimental to get down early and use against your opponent. Having them essentially need to either let this Zabuza go to win 2 battle rewards, or lose a fight and lose not only that fight and probably kill a ninja, but lose a standby ninja back to their hand early game anyway. So if you can get this on the field early with these Haku Childhood, you are in an incredibly good position. It does have Mist, it does have Rogue Ninja, and it does have weapons, so it has everything we're looking for. It is also Jonin, and it has the ambush characteristic, so you can use this as hand cost and deploy it from the chakra. You do want to run 2 of these, because if it gets into your hand, if it gets into your chakra, or it gets battle rewarded, your Haku Childhood is not going to be able to search it. It can only search and put in play from the deck specifically, so you want at least 2, possibly 3, but I found that 2 is still fine enough. It's still a powerful ninja, even if you are deploying it on turn 5, not getting the Haku off early enough, because its effect is just very good, and having 7-2 and 5-1 for its stats is very, very strong. So yeah, just another Mist body, another Rogue Ninja target, incredibly powerful. Last for turn 5s, I run 1 Ao, the Mist Bodyguards version. He has 2 effects. The first is valid. At the start of your turn, if you control another Earth Ninja, your opponent reveals 1 card at random from their hand. Not very good, but you really only have 1 other option for that to ever happen. And then valid. At the start of your turn, if you control another Water Ninja, which every ninja in this deck is, you can look at the top card of your deck. In that case, if it's a mission card, reveal it and move it to your hand. Otherwise, shuffle the deck. So just kind of a nice pseudo draw, allowing you to move a mission to your hand so that you can then get it for free and then draw your card, just to filter your deck more and just get more viability into your hand and variability. He does not have Rogue Ninja, but he does have Mist, so he still counts for Utakata. He does have Jonin for one of the jutsus later. He has some mental power, and he does not have the weapon character attribute. Man, I cannot get that down. Weapon attribute. But yeah, 6-3 is still pretty good. 3-2 when injured is fine, but 3 is a very powerful support. So I do just run 1 of these because it is kind of later in the game, and it's mostly just to keep stacking late game if you really need to stack Utakata. You don't want to just start deploying off of the Mist archetype. On to turn 6, I run 1, the 5th Mizukage, Controlled Mist. It is not the Kage Summit one, but I find that this effect works just as well. Her effect is, at the start of your opponent's turn, if they control more ninjas than you, they discard 1 ninja they control. So kind of fitting in with the theme of just thinning out your opponent's field. This ninja allows you to kind of get back into the curve if you've kind of lost some fights, maybe you didn't hit very well, and your opponent has come back a little bit. It's just kind of a free kill for you. She's obviously missed is Satusa, which is not Jonin, which is unfortunate for that jutsu later on. But she does have 6-4, 4 being an incredible support. does not have weapon characteristic, which is fine. So yeah, I do just run one because she is kind of late game and is not really intrinsic to the strategy. And the last ninja I run is a turn 6. It is the second Hokage, Supremacy. His effect is during your mission phase, you can pay 0 chakra, move 1 card in your discard pile to your chakra area, or 1 mission card from your discard pile to your hand. So this is a very powerful recycle in the late game. This is what's going to keep you consistent for the late game, because a lot of times when decks kind of hit their curve and they're kind of going downhill, they run out of things to do, especially in the missions department. They might have played all their draw missions, used any of the extras for hand cost. This allows you to get back your mission and keep going full throttle. Especially powerful because there is a very good mission in this deck specifically that is synergizing with this strategy. So being able to bring it back to your hand after you've used all of them in the deck is very good. He does also have the mastery characteristic, so he can use some of the jutsus and pay 1 chakra to put it back into your hand after it's resolved. So that is very powerful. And has 4 support, which is incredibly good. Unfortunately, not weapon, but once again, doesn't really matter for this. Obviously, not Mist, not Hidden, not Rogue Ninja, so not really searchable. Kind of just a afterthought late game. If you happen to get this in the late game, it'll help you out, but it's not really part of the strategy. First up for jutsus, I run 2 Twin Sword Hiramekarei Hammer. It is a Water-Earth Jutsu with 2 colorless chakra cost. Requirement is weapon, which is why we've been looking for weapon combat attributes this whole time. And the effect is you can pay 2 colorless chakra. In that case, the user gets +4/+4 during this turn. Then you can make 1 ninja opposing the user a standby ninja if its combat is less than the user. So it's very confusingly worded, but think of it as if you are always going to get the standby effect. So just pretend that the entire effect of this card is the standby, where if your combat is higher, you get to make an opposing ninja standby, with the added benefit that if you need it, you can give yourself +4/+4 to ensure that you do have higher combat by paying 2 more for a total of 4. So I wish they worded it better, but it is horribly worded, and that's just how it works. So a lot of the weapon ninjas in this, there are a lot of weapon ninjas in this deck, so this is pretty useful. And it is a pseudo negate because if there is an opponent's ninja using a jutsu and you move it to standby, that ninja can no longer use that jutsu because they're not on the battlefield, so the jutsu fizzles. So being able to stand by an opponent's ninja is very powerful. I do only run 2 of these because it is a little bit situational. It doesn't inherently win you anything. It just kind of makes you stronger and them weaker. And it still has the requirements which aren't, universal throughout everybody. So I do just run 2 of these. Next, I run 2 Fang's Rush. It is a void element, so be careful with hand costs around this. It is limited to 2 in both of the lists, and it does cost 2 colorless chakra. Requirement is weapon, and the effect is your opponent reveals their hand. Select and discard 1 card revealed this way. The user gets +X/+0 during this turn, where X equals the discarded card's entrance cost. So if it's a jutsu, you do get +0. It doesn't count as having an entrance cost because jutsus don't. But generally, this card is going to be used just to snipe troublesome things out of your opponent's hand. A jutsu that they've been saving the entire game, a ninja that is part of their core strategy, a troublesome mission that you don't want them to get off, something like that. It does have the second effect, an expert effect with Ameyuri Ringo. You may discard 1 ninja with the same name as the discarded ninja card. That's never going to come up, at least in this version, because I don't run any Ameyuri Ringos. But she is Mist, so you could feasibly run it. I just don't run any of it in this deck because I don't think it really fits the vibe that I'm going for. But yeah, mostly it's used to remove something bad from the hand. The plus to your combat is just kind of an added bonus. So I do run this at 2, what it's limited to, because it is worth it. Next, I run 3 Crystal Ice Mirror. It is another water jutsu, 2 water chakra cost. Requirements are Haku. And then the target is every ninja battling against the user with an entrance cost of 3 or less, and the effect is give 1 damage to the target. So because the Haku does not have an entrance cost requirement, even Haku Childhood could use it. So there are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 users of this in the entire deck, possibly 8 if you use another Haku Childhood. So having a lot of targets that can use this is very, very good. And this is the jutsu that I was talking about to use in conjunction with Karin, because her boosting any damage the opposing team takes means that this jutsu is a team wipe if you can get it off, which is very good. The Haku with the highest entrance cost in this deck being turn 3 is also very beneficial because this card has an entrance cost cap of 3 to deal the damage. So if you've gone first and you've hit your curve every single time, you'll be able to use this jutsu optimally throughout the entire game with your Hakus. Even in the late game, after the entrance cost is kind of eclipsed, you can still hit back ninjas, which is going to be good because injuring them is still going to be powerful. So yeah, this is mainly the reason that I'm running that Karin over absorption, because I think theoretically, like on paper, it's a very good combo. It also works with the Haku Childhood, so it's kind of a double benefit. But I do run 3 of these just because there are so many Hakus in the deck that there are going to be so many opportunities for you to use it. Next, I run 2 Hidden Mist Jutsu, another 2 water jutsu. Target is 1 jutsu card being played, and the effect is negate the target and move it back to its original owner's hand. So pretty much one of the worst ways to negate a jutsu, because your opponent can just use it again in the very next chain if they start a new one. But if it's used to protect a jutsu that you're using that you really need to get off, it might just protect you long enough for it to be effective. It is one of the better negate jutsus that Water has, unfortunately. A lot of their negates are kind of contingent on things like coin flips or having no hand, which you don't really want to waste effort or luck on. So I do run 2 of these just because it's kind of the next best thing. Having a negate is just powerful in general. You don't want to rely entirely on being able to stand by with Hiramekarei Unleashed. So yeah, I do run 2 of these because it is generic. Anybody can use it. And even though it does put it right back into the hand, they are still going to waste their chakra, and you're still going to be able to negate for at least that chain. And last, I run 1 water-style Water Dragon Jutsu. This is limited to 1 on both of the lists, and its effects are requirements Jonin plus a printed entrance cost of 4 or more. Unfortunately, it is a hard requirement of Jonin. It's not Jonin or above, so any of the Satusa ninjas cannot use this, so you can't mastery it with the second Hokage, which is kind of super unfortunate, but probably for the best because this jutsu is very strong. The target is X number of your opponent's ninjas, where X is the amount of chakra that you paid, the cost being either 1 fire and X or 1 water and X. And the effect is give 1 damage to the target. So you basically get to deal 1 damage to as many ninjas as you can pay for with the extra amount of chakra from this jutsu. Allowing you to snipe too, because the target is just ninjas, not ninjas opposing, not any specific ninjas. So you can distribute 1 damage to anyone. You can turn off any non-valid effects, even if they're not out to battle, even if they're being protected in the village. So just a very good jutsu. And obviously with Karin, if you target any of the ninjas opposing a team that she's opposing, then it's going to be doubled to 2. So also very beneficial there. But mostly it's to kind of wipe all non-valid effects off the field from your opponent and to weaken all of your opponent's teams. If your opponent has an entire field of injured ninjas, their power is going to be very, very diminished. So yeah, do run this at 1. Obviously, only Zabuza and Ao can use this, but because Zabuza can come in very early on with Haku Childhood, I do think it does synergize very well. On to missions, I run 2 Symbol of the Rogue Ninja. It is another void, so be careful with hand cost, but the entrance cost is 1 with 1 hand cost. And its effect is search your deck for 1 Rogue Ninja, which is why we were listing off all of the Rogue Ninja cards that share a symbol with the card used to pay for this card's entrance cost. Reveal it and move it to your hand. So it's pretty much only ever going to be water. You don't have any other options really. And you'll be able to search out almost every ninja that's kind of a key of this deck. All the turn 3 Haku, the Utakatas, the Zabuza if you really need it, both of the Demon Brothers. Even Karin has Rogue Ninja even though she's not Mist. So yeah, this is just a general search for pretty much all of those without any other sort of downside, which is why I do run it over Makeout Tactics, because I don't tend to generate a lot of chakra early, and you do want to search out some of your earlier Rogue Ninjas with this. So I do think generally it's a little better than Makeout Tactics for this deck specifically, but obviously Makeout Tactics is so good, if you swapped it out for that, I couldn't really blame you in any way. On to turn 2s, I run 3 Friendship from Sorrow, one of the best water missions in the entire game. It is a turn 2 with 1 hand cost water mission. Its effect is, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, move 1 to your hand, 1 to your chakra area, and 1 to your discard pile. So starting off, this is a very good filter card. I talk about monster research a lot and how it's very good because it lets you draw 2 cards, but then also discard 2 cards. So even though you are losing out on the 2 cards you're going to be discarding, you do have the benefit of getting rid of cards that you don't necessarily want. This has the same sort of effect where you get to draw 1, but then you get to put 1 in your chakra, 1 in your discard. So you get to filter out, like if there's 1 card in there that you really don't want to see, you can just put it straight into discard. That's fine. There are a few ambush ninjas in this deck, so putting them into the chakra area is going to be very good because you're not even going to lose them that way. So allowing you to see 3 cards and move them as you desire, there's no interference by your opponent, is very good. But secondly, this card is also amazing because during your mission phase, if this card is in your chakra area, you can remove this card and another card in your chakra area from the game. Does not need to be a water card, can be anything. In that case, discard 1 in-play non-ninja card. So one of the main detriments of effects for ninjas is that they are very easily turned off. There are 2 cards specifically, Comparative Strengths and Dehydration, that can turn off your effects. And if you are hit by one of those with your Utakata or your Haku, you're going to be put behind for a very long time, potentially up to 3 turns, which is kind of a death sentence for this deck that really wants to use its effects. So Friendship from Sorrow is one of the best ways in the entire game to negate that, because as long as this is in your chakra, you can just get rid of those immediately because it's during your mission phase. So running 3 of these is very good. It's even better than the 2 Hina I typically run in any fire deck that wants to get rid of negate missions as well, because it does have the draw effect on it too. So I think this is definitely the best water mission in the game. So you do want to run 3 of them, especially in this effect-heavy deck. And speaking of which, I run 2 Dehydration, still on turn 2. It is a counter permanent for 3 turns, the counter going down on the start of your turn, so it does kind of last half as long for one of those turns. But the target is 1 ninja, and the effect is attach this card to the target. The effect text of the target is negated. And the second effect is when your opponent draws 1 or more cards due to an effect, draw 1 card. So this card is, like I was saying, very powerful because it allows you to turn off your opponent's effects. As long as you know what your opponent has that's good, you can basically stop their game from progressing for 3-ish turns. The secondary benefit is that when your opponent draws 1 or more cards, you get to draw due to an effect. The overwhelming amount of missions that allow you to draw is a huge boon to this card because anytime they use one of those, you'll get to draw. It also allows you to proc off of Haku Childhood if you do have something dehydrated and you get your Zabuza search off, they get to draw 2 cards, which means you get to draw 1 card, which is very, very good. There's also a mission coming up that allows your opponent to draw, which would give them that effect as well. So yeah, very powerful card. You definitely want to see it. And I do run 2 of it because it is very good, but you don't really want to run 3 because there isn't that much that you need to negate often. Next, on to turn 3s, I run 1 Invasion of Akatsuki. It is limited to 1. and the effect is permanent, so it allows it to stay on the field the entire game. There's no hand cost, which is very beneficial. The effect is when this mission card's effect is applied, search your deck for one Rogue Ninja card and move it to your chakra area. Another search for the Rogue Ninjas we were talking about. And the second effect is Akatsuki and Rogue Ninja cards in your chakra area get ambush. So most of the Rogue Ninjas in this deck are not ambush, and this gives them ambush, so you don't really have to worry about using them from hand cost, which is why this card is at 1, as it's very, very powerful. If you can get this, then you kind of have free reign to move stuff to chakra with Friendship from Sorrow. You have ambush on your other ninjas, so if your like second Hokage moves them to the chakra area, you can get them back. Just all around very powerful, and basically a search just as good, if not better, than Symbol of the Rogue Ninja. Because you can put this down immediately, search for Utakata or Haku, put them in your chakra, they immediately have ambush, and you can just deploy them right away. So definitely worth running at 1 on any deck that has any amount of Rogue Ninjas or Akatsuki. Next, on to turn 3s still, run 2 Moment of Weakness. Probably a mission you haven't seen. It does have 1 hand cost, and its effect is move one of your opponent's ninjas with the lowest entrance cost to its owner's chakra area. If that ninja had an entrance cost of 0, move this mission to your hand. So synergizing very well with this strategy. You can throw this down, remove something very small from your opponent's field. If it's turn 0, it goes back to your hand. Play your Utakata, remove something else. Get your Haku down, remove something else with Utakata every single turn. Play this again if you had it from turn 0. Just allows you to keep hitting your opponent's field really, really hard and preventing them from really stacking up. I did run this at 3 for a little bit, but it does feel bad when you need to play other missions. You don't have your Utakata down, so you're kind of just bouncing something, not really worth using the mission for. So I do just run 2 of these, but when it hits very fast. And lastly, I run 1 Suigetsu's Joy, another limited card, so you can only have 1 of them on both of the lists. Its effect is each player moves all but 1 card from their hand to their chakra area, then each player draws 2 cards. Extremely powerful in water, because water does generate a lot of hand potential and chakra potential. But if you get down to just a few cards, you don't have to move any. Like, you're not required to move an amount to get this effect off. So even if you only have 1 card in your hand, or even 0 after the hand cost, you still move your opponent's entire hand and you still draw 2 cards. So you are going to get the benefit no matter what. With Invasion of Akatsuki, this means that you're pretty much not going to have any downside for moving, but the main upside is that this is going to shuffle your opponent's hand away, which means that any strategy they've been building up to is going to be gone. Once again, with all the ambush possibility in the deck, moving to chakra isn't going to be a big deal. You might get your Friendship from Sorrows in there, and in general it's just very good for filtering and can be mitigated with your own hand control. This is another card that works with Dehydration because it forces your opponent to draw, which then procs off of your Dehydration to let you draw another card as well. So just keep that strategy in mind. But that is the last mission card of the game. So kind of out with a whimper more than with a bang, but that is the deck. It's very straightforward. I think this is a very good sort of beginner deck because it is very powerful. It can combo very well off of itself, but doesn't have a lot of unique mechanics, anything that gets kind of complicated or very weird. So yeah, I think it's very powerful. It's just not really something that I normally run, but I thought it was a fun concept. So some of the other options I run are here. I do consider sometimes a third Haku Childhood. It is just very good to have 3 of those because it's very powerful. A lot of decks or a lot of lists do limit or even ban Haku Childhood. So it's not out of the question to run 3 of them. I just think it's a little clunky. Just haven't really landed on how many I wanted to run of that. And then obviously, like I discussed already, the Karin Absorption. She's just so good. Being able to heal essentially for free is just so powerful. She's definitely the best heal in the entire game, and she also has ambush. She still has Rogue Ninja, so it's just really hard not to have her in any water deck. And then, like I was discussing before, I had 2 of these Haku gifted abilities. Lets you essentially choose new targets for jutsus, which is really, really strong. Kind of like prevents your opponent from even considering using jutsus because they know that this is on like a possibility on the field. So they have to wait for an out. They can't just like try to force it, if that makes any sense. But obviously the Haku I chose is just so good for the combo. And then last, there's a Snake Sword that just kind of does remove from the field even more. They do come back and play at the end of the turn, so it isn't permanent. But, you know, if you throw in your Utakata and then you use your Haku and you've used your Moment of Weakness and you use Snake Sword, that's like 4 ninjas gone from the field this whole turn. And that's just crazy. But it's kind of just too much of a good thing. It's not enough variety, so I'm not sure if that's entirely worth it. But yeah, so let me know if you have any ideas that I could use to make this deck any better. It is still in its testing stages. It's one of my newest decks, so it's definitely not optimized as well as it probably could be. Let me know if you have any other ideas for decks that you want me to talk about. I really just have the one left of my main decks. It is my big one, my baby, my personal ideas, not based on anything at all. And that will be coming next week. I'm very excited about it. So yeah, leave a like down in the like box. Leave any comments that you have. Subscribe if you want to see any more of these. I try to put out deck profiles every 2 weeks, and I try to put out a different video every other week. Next being the rankings of specific types of cards, probably some archetype like negates or maybe targets like snipe jutsus. I haven't really decided yet, but be on the lookout for those, and I will see you next time on our next deck profile video. Bye.